So I'm now here with Chris Wilson, aka Calico Kitten Cat. Chris does developer relations and is here repping Figment. Chris moderates the Celo Reddit and Figment Discord and also works with the Figment Learn team to help devs learn how to develop on Web3 protocols. And Chris's main focus is building community around the values and the core tenets of Celo to foster, a truly decentralized and open source internet. So Chris is going to talk to us more about how to build on Celo. And with that, I'll let you take it away, Chris.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful introduction. I don't think I have to do much more introducing. You guys already know my name and my alias. So basically, I decided to do this tech talk because honestly, I wish someone would have done it during my first Kuneco. I had a big desire to learn how to code and build on Celo, but I didn't know anywhere even close to where to start. I didn't know what I didn't know I needed to know. So that spurred me into finding Figment Learn and ultimately being hired by them. And now I have the opportunity to talk back with the community and help you guys find your purpose in this Web3 ecosystem the same way that y'all helped me, my first Kuneco, find my purpose. So in this presentation, I'll be covering how to start building your first dApp on Celo using DataHub by Figment. This tech talk's geared more for beginners and people new to the Web3 ecosystem, but in the spirit of inclusion for all, I'm going to show you guys how to go from zero to connecting to a Celo node. If you already know how to build on Celo, have no fear. Figment has something for you too as well. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the slides. So what is DataHub? Well, it's a back-end revolution and your Web3 gateway. I always like to start things with a quote. So here's one of my favorite from James Baldwin. Know from whence you came. If you know whence you came, there are absolutely no limitations to where you can go. Past. The standalone computer. In order to understand where we are going, it's important to first know where we came from. In the beginning, there was the standalone computer, and your personal computer contained everything. If you wanted to share a file from your computer, you would have to download that file to a floppy disk and walk it over to the person you wanted to share that file with. They would then need to download the file from the floppy to their computer in order to use it. If you wanted to share the file with someone in another country, you would need to mail the floppy disk to them. Now, you can only imagine how slow it would be to collaborate with someone on the other side of the world, let alone a team of people using this system. From this frustration with how information was shared, we built the first iteration of the internet, and that brought on the emergence of the World Wide Web, or WWW, which eased the frustration by introducing a data transmission protocol called TCP over IP, making the transfer of data faster. It also massively reduced the transaction costs of exchanging information. We call this iteration of the World Wide Web, Web 1. Now it brings us to the present, Web 2, and P2P, or person to person. 10 years later, we saw the rise of what we are now calling Web 2. This evolution was possible due to the addition of protocols to transfer additional information. This allowed a more programmable internet using protocols like HTTP for hypertext and SMTP for emails. The internet we currently use, Web 2, is built on the concept of the standalone computer. These protocols control the transmission of data, but not how that data is stored. Data can be stored any number of ways. However, as technology developed, centralized data storage became standardized, often facilitating payments between two untrusted parties. This brought on the e-commerce and social networking boom and exposed vulnerabilities in the current data architectures. We can see that with the ongoing data breaches of centralized servers. Regardless, Web 2 revolutionized social interactions globally, bringing producers, consumers, goods, and services closer together than ever before. This was a front-end revolution building onto and reiterating the standalone computer model. That sounds great, right? Well, not so fast. The current Web 2 has no way to send what computer scientists call state. The simplest definition of state is simply to remember. By definition, state is the last known or current status of an application or process. The term maintaining state and/or managing state refers to keeping track of the condition of the process. This iteration of the internet, Web 2, is essentially stateless because each request for a new web page is processed without any knowledge of previous pages requested. This is one of the main drawbacks of the HTTP protocol. Because maintaining state is extremely useful, developers built a number of techniques to add state to Web 2 through the use of cookies and server APIs. But Web 2's protocols require us to use these internet platforms to facilitate our transactions as a workaround for this lack of state. If you can hold the state of the internet, you can transfer value without the need for centralized institutions to act as clearing entities. That brings us to the future, which is blockchain. Blockchain protocols introduced a way for each person in a network to keep and transact with a digitally native format without the need for a centralized institution to act as a middleman. The consensus protocol is designed in a way that the entire network can remember preceding events and user transactions. Blockchain has resolved this problem by providing a single source to reference the state. In this context, blockchain is a driving force of the next generation internet, Web 3. Blockchain reinvents the way data is stored and managed. It provides a unique set of data, a universal state layer that is collectively managed. This unique state layer, for the first time, enables a value settlement layer for the internet. It allows us to send files in a copy-protected way, enabling true P2P transactions without intermediaries. As the backbone of Web 3, blockchain redefines the data structures in the back end of the web. Now that we live in a connected world, it introduces a governance layer that runs on top of the current internet, which allows for two people who do not know or trust each other to reach a settlement agreement over the web. However, nothing much will change on the surface of the internet for the average user. While Web 2 was a front-end revolution, Web 3 is a back-end revolution. It is a set of protocols led by blockchain that intends to reinvent how the internet is wired in the back end, combining the logic of the internet with the logic of the computer. This is why some refer to blockchain as a distributed world computer. Blockchain technology is the next big step in development of computers and internet. That brings us to DataHub, your Web 3 gateway. Now that we know where we came from, where we are, and where we want to go, we can start to see the steps to get there. Much like the Celo Foundation, Figment shares similar tenets. You can think of Figment like the roots of a tree to seed and foster the growth of a forest, a decentralized forest of developers to build out the envisioned Web 3 ecosystem. Our purpose is to provide everything a developer would need in order to start from zero and end up with a viable Web 3 application as quickly and painlessly as possible. At Figment, we have two main implementations to help the growth of Web 3. The first is DataHub. Through DataHub, developers will have access to Web 3 protocols through our enterprise-grade infrastructure. We make sure they can focus on what they do best, develop amazing products. We provide reliable access to the RPC and REST APIs of our supported protocols for both the latest mainnets and testnets, allowing our users to safely test and implement their product. Web3's future is interconnected and modular. Use Celo's speed and identity protocol to leverage Ethereum's community on Matic. Store your NFT metadata on Arweave while you query your smart contracts with the Graph, and then encrypt your users' data with NuCypher. This is the future of Web3 decentralized applications that will enable groundbreaking innovation. Web 2 is well documented with many knowledge bases, communities, and code repositories. However, Web 3 falls painfully short of what developers have come to expect. Current blockchain developer documentation varies from protocol to protocol with little consistency and standards. It's already painful enough to learn about one protocol. It's almost impossible to compare them and know which ones to add to your decentralized application or dApp. That's where Figment Learn comes in. Figment Learn is the Web3 knowledge base. We have embarked on a mission to introduce more developers to Web3 by simplifying the experience for its users and shining the light on Web3's potential. Learn is the education and onboarding platform for developers interested in Web3 development. With Learn, developers gain access to the most comprehensive developer portal, which standardizes documentation across networks and offers in-depth practical tutorials to help you get to the next level. Tutorials can be completed seamlessly with DataHub, which provides easy access to the protocols via our full node infrastructure and suite of middleware. To foster our community, Figment is partnering with foundations to reward developers for developing on Web3 protocols and sharing their knowledge with others. Developers have the ability to write tutorials to expand the knowledge base and earn tokens in the process. This community-generated content complements the available documentation to help developers go from 0 to 1 and further when discovering new protocols. Learn will grow with its community to foster social interactions and mentorship, so developers are no longer on their own when embarking on this new journey. We envision Learn as the place where developers interact with each other, teach each other, and share their groundbreaking projects with the world. No matter what stage you are in your journey, we have something for everyone. It is only through togetherness that we can realize the true benefits of Web3 and bring prosperity to all. Thank you for sticking through that if you already knew about Web3. Now we can jump into the practical, and I will show you just how easy it is to get started building your first dApp with Celo. So let's go ahead and jump on into that. All right. So what we're going to do is go to datahub.figment.io. And when you sign in, you'll see your protocols here on the list. And what we can do is go ahead and click on Celo. And now here is your home base for everything Celo. And when we come down here, we can see a list of the tutorials. And we're going to start with connect to a Celo node using DataHub. Now, there's going to be a couple things that are important when doing setting up your dev environment. So you're going to want to make sure everything's okay so that when you get halfway through your project, you don't have to change something and then it all breaks and you have to start over. So if you're on Windows, which is the most common for intro devs, you want to go ahead and set up Docker for Windows so that you can use Linux with WSL2. And here is a tutorial we have for that on the Figment Learn for how to get set up there. And then you're also going to need a code editor. I like to use code.visualstudio.com's VS Code. And then you're also going to want a node version manager. I use NVM Windows from Corey Butler. And how to get this is, you just go down here to releases. And then boom, right there, that's the one you want. Or you can just go ahead and jump and get Node.js right here. So now that we've got that out of the way, we can go ahead and open up Ubuntu. And our first step is going to be to check our node version and make sure that we have the correct node version to start building. And we can do that by doing node-v. And we can see that it is version 12.19.1, and that's exactly what we want. Now we can start our project by making a directory with mkdir, and then we can name it. And let's name it Cello. Because file exists. All right. Let's make a different one. How about Celo? All right. And then we can go cd, which is change directory. And then we can go into our new directory. And then from here, we can go code space period. And that should open up that directory in Visual Studio Code. All right. So now that we have Visual Studio Code up, we want to start a new terminal. All right. And then we want to go back here. And this is what's going to build our package.json file to get started. Oh, that one's already open. Okay. So let's go ahead and we're in the file. We can go ahead and run it. And there we go. Now we have a package.json file and we have set up a dependency. Now we want to install our package for Celo contract kit. And we can do that by running this code in Visual Studio Code. So let's go ahead and run that now. What? Okay. What happened? Okay, np install. Try it again. Oops. Oh, fun times. There we go. np install. There we go. All right. And while that's installing, what we're going to see is we're going to see these dependencies added to our JSON file, package.json file. And this might take just a minute. And next, what we are going to want to do is you're going to have important information in this file, like your API key. And what you're going to want to do is protect that. So in order to protect that, we're going to make a .get ignore file. And that file is going to list what we want the Git repo to not include. And that's going to be our .env file. And then we'll save that. And then we can make our environmental file, env. And in here is where we will keep our private information, like our account keys. And look, that's done. That created a package-lock.json file, and it added some more dependencies. So we can go back to the tutorial. And now we want to connect to the Celo network. Oh, skipped a step. We have to put in our API key. So let's go ahead and copy this and add that to our env file. And then right here, just we don't need the carets, but we do need the trailing slash. Is what we want to do is go back to our DataHub, and up here, and you never share this API key with anybody. That is the keys to your castle right there. So we're going to go ahead and copy that, and right in the carets, paste that in there, save this file, and remember, never share that. That's why it's in the environment under git ignore. And now we go back to the tutorial. Now that that's in place, we can safely connect to the Celo node. So we're going to make a connect.js file. Connect.js. And then inside the connect.js, we will include this code right here. And if that looks a little bit scary, have no fear. We break it down for you right down here. So let's go ahead and throw that code in there and then save. And now in order to run this code, since it's JS, it's usually going to start with node and then followed by the file you want to do. So here we're going to do node connect.js. And there we go. We have create the connection to the Celo node right here with this. And then we query the chain ID and then query the chain height. And you can see that came out right here in our output. So now we know everything's working good, and that's exactly how it should be. And that is how easy it is to connect to a node. Now we can create our first account. by making a file create underscore account.js. So we'll do that by doing the same process again, hit enter, and then we can put this piece of code in the create account. And this is going to create our account for us and give us some useful information. So save it again. And now here's a breakdown of the code if you're interested in that, but it's not entirely important to know. Now in the .env file, we're going to add this bit because when we create our account, we're going to get our address. Oops, wrong thing. We're going to get our address, and then we're also going to get our private key. Yeah, so we're adding this to our env file. And then we can create our account. And here we go. Here's our address right here. And then we just add our address where it says address. And then our private key. Right where it says private key. And remember, we don't need the carets. And then we can save that file. And we're going to go ahead and grab our address because we're going to want some funds to play around with when testing out our app. So we can do that by visiting the faucet, putting in our address, confirming we're not a robot. And then once this says done, we will have funds in our account. And that is the conclusion for how to set up your account and with a DataHub. And it goes all the way through to the last step, querying Celo network. It's all pretty simple. And all the way to building your first dApp. So that is the conclusion of that. And I would like to open it up for questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. That was a great walkthrough. So I have one question for you. If you could wave a magic wand, thinking about kind of the whole journey of the experience of developing and building on Celo, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you wish for as part of that developer experience with Celo?
Maybe like an easier way to incorporate all Web3 chains inside the Celo ecosystem. I think that's the next level. Having that interoperability and that freedom and flexibility, I think would be really, really cool.
Cool. Agreed. Also, interoperability is a theme of the day, and it's one that's near and dear to our hearts. So I think we're definitely on the same wavelength in that regard. One other question for you. Why you believe tutorials and educational resources like this are important for our shared mission and goals in the Celo community?
Oh, that's a great question. Personally, I feel that this type of material and education has always been gatekept or put behind a price, a paywall, or used in, I don't know, nefarious ways. So I think in the spirit of inclusion for all and prosperity for all, education is to me better than money. You know, education's forever, money's temporary. So if with knowledge you can generate a prosperous nature for yourself better than you could if you didn't know anything. And I think that that's really important for the tenants and what I believe in, and just having everybody just kind of level up. Because I think the next new person that learns how to build on the Web3 could be building the next, decentralized Google. And you just never know who those people are until you give them a chance.
Never know who they are until you give them a chance. That's so well said too, Chris. Well, one last question. What's your favorite thing about DataHub for Celo?
Oh, the fact that you don't have to set up your own nodes. You can play with our nodes, and it's absolutely free. And if you want to explore other protocols, you can even get rewarded with the said token to fit better in your alignment. And also, if you do develop or are a developer for Web3 and you have a Web2 dApp that you would like to port over, we also offer rewards for writing tutorials. So it's really a decentralized learning platform.
That's awesome. When even the learning platforms themselves are decentralized and have the same ethos and spirit as the decentralized tech ecosystem around them. That's great. Well, I think that's it for questions. We're just at time now too. Chris, thank you so much again for joining us here. This is a really great session.